Right now I'm in a different room because there's hardly any good internet connection in the basement, so I have to take the call in another room.
All right, awesome, man. All right, so it says we're live. Super excited. So, what's going on, everybody? Very excited to bring you today's guest. Today, our guest is the founder of 2000books.com. He's been able to build a successful lifestyle business based around selling book summaries to entrepreneurs. Now, this book has allowed him to travel around the world and live life on his own terms. He's read over 1,000 books and he reads a book a day. However, he wasn't always enjoying the benefits the entrepreneur life provides him today. From 1996 to 2000, he actually got his undergrad in physics at the Indian Institute of Technology, also known as IIT. After he got his undergrad, he moved to the United States and got his master's degree in electrical and computer engineering at Rice University. From there, he got a job in Austin, Texas. He would write software for DVD players. However, in 2004, he actually got laid off from his job, but he had what's called a H-1B visa, which means that he had 30 days to find a job or he had to move back to India. So he had to hustle and he got 3 job offers in that time. So he was able to stay in the US. He moved to San Diego in 2004, where he started working at Nokia as a software developer for their cell phone division. He was there for 2 years and unfortunately got laid off again in 2006. But he made the decision. He goes, all right, I got 30 days again to find a new job, or he had to move back to India. So he put in some work and he got 5 job offers within those 30 days. So he was able to stay. He ended up getting a job at Texas Instruments to be a software engineer for their cell phone division. Unfortunately, he was again laid off in 2007. Then he ended up at a company called Qualcomm, and he was there for 7 years. And it got to the point where he was actually managing billion-dollar cell phone design projects for Sony Mobile, which is actually one of the biggest companies in the world. And during this time, he was reading books by great thinkers. One of the books that really acknowledged his passion and ambition was the book Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, followed by Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. However, at Qualcomm, he was working 16-hour days and he had to make a decision to keep working 16-hour days and hopefully move up the corporate ladder or to start his own business. Then coincidentally, one of his friends gave him the book, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and he made the decision to create a lifestyle business. He decided to create his company 2000 Books in November of 2015, and the rest is history. Today, he is free from reporting to VPs and VCs and is able to travel the world as he pleases and is a member of the notorious digital marketing mastermind War Room, where he connects with some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. And he's really shown that it's possible to create a successful lifestyle business revolving around what you love to do. So today, I'm very thrilled to bring you the undisputed book reading champion of the world, Mr. Manny Vaya.
Damn, man, thank you very much. Wow. I have to tell you that I have never had anyone do such a complete research on my background and report all the facts so precisely. And I know that these are not like, you didn't get them from one source, because these are things you know from different sources. You probably picked them up from my emails, from my website, from different sources across like all the different campaigns, maybe from all my stories. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you for all the research. So precise, so well done, and everything you've said is spot on. So thank you. Thank you for having me here, man.
Beautiful. Awesome, man. So Manny, when you were working 16-hour days at Qualcomm, but you had that itch to travel the world and visit your parents in India and do what you wanted to do. I know it wasn't an easy decision to leave, like that comfortable environment. Like walk us through, the day where you finally decided like this is it. I'm gonna start building my own business.
Man, this was way easier than I would have liked it to be, because Qualcomm in 2015, late, I think July or August, around that time, they announced that they were going to lay off like 10,000 people or so. So I just went to my manager and I was like, "Hey man, you should lay me off. I want to go. I want to start my own business. Think I'm done." So he said, "Okay, we will consider it." So till the last day, I had no idea if I was going to get laid off or not. And I still remember that day, on the day of layoffs, and nobody called me till like very late in the morning that day, and I was getting stressed out because I thought they wouldn't lay me off, and then I would have to just resign. And my friends were making fun of that situation. They were like saying, you know, the whole company, everyone's stressed out because they're stressed out over getting the call that they're gonna get called to the room and they're gonna get laid off, and you're stressed out because you're not getting the call. This is like the most effed up situation, but you know, you are reverse stressed for something. That's it's like the most uh, it's the stupidest thing. But I remember that day, and I still remember, like, I was like, damn man, I hope they didn't like mess it up and they didn't think that just because I wanted to go anyways, so they wouldn't lay me off and blah blah blah. But you know, that was easy because I did get the call, and then they did you know, give me the layoff and the pink slip and the you know, all that stuff. So that was easy. It was actually easier than I would have liked it to be.
That's really interesting, man. So, did you read the 4 Hour Work Week before you left, or was it
Yeah,
after you
so
left?
I had read 4 Hour Work Week right around 2008, 2009. So I had just started, like, I had just gotten a hint of it at that time, and I started to read it. And I, like, when I read it once and I read it twice, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. But at the time, as you know, as you talked about it, I had what's called an H-1B visa, so I couldn't just start a business because stipulations with that H-1B visa. There's a lot of stuff. So the only way I could have done it is wait till I get my green card to start my business, and that's what I did. I waited till I got my green card, which was somewhere in 2014, and once that came, um, I was like, I was trying to figure out, okay, what's my next move? Where should I go from here? When should I start a business? When, you know, I was kind of in a limbo because now that I had my green card, I was I was still dragging feet, trying to figure out, okay, maybe in the next 3 months, maybe in the next 3 months, maybe in the next 3 months, maybe in the next 3 months. But as soon as Qualcomm said we're gonna start laying people off, I'm like, hey, this is it. This is my, you know, this is it. This is the sign. It's time to go.
Wow. So you were like, the perfect opportunity presented itself, and then you jump through. And during that whole time where you're waiting for the opportunity, did you know what you were going to build?
Not so clearly as I would like to think. Like, it's very hard in business sometimes, or most of the times, because we think this is what we want to build, and we start with it, and then we iterate and we iterate and we iterate, and things evolve. So same thing happened with me. I had no idea that I was going to build a book summary business. Really, I was just reading. Like, when I got exposed to 4 Hour Work Week, I was like, okay, I want to build something, a business like this. So I started reading books, a lot of more business books and marketing books, and I was like, okay, well, I can't really start a business, but at least I can, get my knowledge and learn as I go. And as I was reading these books, I was like, oh, there's something called book summaries. Like, people have these summaries of books. Let me sign up for those. So I signed up for those summaries, and what I found was that they were very boring. They were very cut and dry. They were like someone had just highlighted a bunch of stuff and then rewritten the passages in their own words and called it a book summary. And I felt like those summaries weren't really very fulfilling, and they were not very. There was no character, there was no passion, there was no excitement. It was very boring to me. So I was like, no, 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 this is, I don't like this. So I decided I'm going to just do my own. But that was still while I was Qualcomm, and I didn't really think of doing it on my own as a business. I just literally I created one day. I was reading the book The Millionaire Fastlane. For all of you guys watching, if you haven't read the book Millionaire Fastlane, it's awesome. It's a really good book. And I read the book, and I was like, um, this is great, but there's just so much information here. I want to put it all on a mind map. I just want to like put it all together in a visual fashion. I'm an engineer. I like to see visually. I like to see things logically, breaking down and step by step and all those things. So I put it all on a mind map, and I had like the chapter and the sub idea, and like I had it all broken down. So then I was like, okay, what can I do? And I literally recorded myself talking through the whole mind map on a video. So it was a video mind map summary, and I just recorded it and I put it up on YouTube. For no, like, it was not my intention to build a business around book summaries, that was for sure. I was just like doing it for the sake of, because I'd heard that people put up videos on YouTube and it's fun. I was like, all right, I'll put it and see what people have to think about it or people have to say. And I put it, and then I forgot about it till even 15. And one day I was just browsing through YouTube and I see my own video and there's like 5,000 views. And I'm like, what happened? How did that happen? And I see all these comments and I see all, and people are saying, hey, where can I buy all your book summaries? This is great. This mind map, like this is amazing, this visual thing. Like, I really enjoy the way in which you broke these ideas and all of all these comments. And I'm like, I had no idea that people would actually want to buy it. I had just done it for my own fun sake in some ways, just doing it for the sake of doing it because I enjoy reading and I enjoy kind of explaining those ideas once I'd learned them. I know that teaching is one of the best ways of learning, so I was like, okay, let me put it out there. And that moment when I saw that, it triggered my thinking. I was like, oh, maybe I can just go down this path. Maybe I can start that. And that's how, like, when I left Qualcomm, I decided I'm just gonna keep doing what I was doing and do more. That's how it started. So, wasn't very well thought out or very well planned as you would think. Um, Even like earlier in like sometime at some point in 2015, I even thought about creating a portal where authors would come and uh, all sorts of like software ideas for authors to come and do trainings and things like that. But finally the business pivoted into the state that it is currently.
Wow. Dang, that's crazy. It's like you kind of like stumbled into it. It's like, oh, well, this makes sense, and just kind of you just took the next steps, even though
Yeah.
you didn't wait till you had like, oh, I'm gonna build this big old business. It was like, oh, like this seems like the next thing to do, and then from there you just kind of built and evolved from there.
Yeah, and that's so crucial in in building a business. Like a lot of people think that they need a great idea in order to get started, and there's a great book called How to Be Rich or How to Get Rich. I keep confusing those. By Felix Dennis. He was the publisher of uh, FHM, Maxim, a lot of these magazines. So he was the owner of all of these magazines. So he's a British probably worth $500-600 million by the time he passed away. And his book, in the book, he says, ideas are like running shoes, but execution is like the act of running. So if you're in a race, would you rather have the greatest running shoes, or would you rather just run? So a lot of people wait for the perfect running shoes and they don't even start the race. But the guy who's going to win is not the guy who's going to wait for the perfect running shoes or the golden running shoes, the perfect idea. The guy who's going to win is who's just going to start running irrespective of the shoes he's got, because he's going to find a way. And by the time the other guy finds the perfect shoe, the race is over.
Wow, that's a powerful analogy. And yeah, I feel the same way while I'm building my own business. The morning hustlers, it started off as just a thing to help me get up in the morning. And then more people started sharing it. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, like this is becoming a business. And now here I am interviewing you. And it's unbelievable. So
Yeah.
during this process, you're like, okay, well, I now at this point you're like, okay, you're going a little bit more into this. Like, did you hire a coach? Did you find a mentor? Or did you just go by based
So
on the books that
it's
you read?
all of these are evolutionary. Like you find coaches, you find mentors, you find partners, you find ventures, and you have to become conscious about these things as you keep doing them. You have to consciously, excuse me, you have to consciously look for these
Bless you.
these people in your life. And I remember one time, one of my really good friends is this guy called John Sonmez. He's the founder of simpleprogrammer.com, Bulldog Mindset. Maybe you've met him, maybe you've seen his YouTube videos, maybe some of you guys have. Um, and the way I met him is so interesting. And we've like, it's just one of the many stories of how you find people in your life and how you should be able to build connections and leverage. I'll just tell that one story because it'll show a lot of different steps of finding mentors, partners, coaches, friends, and all of those. So the way it happened was early on in my book summary days, uh, I decided to reach out to people who were interviewed on a specific like entrepreneur podcast, because that podcast had a lot of successful entrepreneurs on it. So I was like, I'm going to reach out all the people on this podcast who love reading books, because the host would ask about books. So I compiled the list. I made a spreadsheet, name, email address, location, which books did they like, what did they answer, all that stuff, like a giant spreadsheet, right? And I started reaching out to each of them, saying, hey, I liked your interview about their book. I have this great site, you should check it out. And let me, I would love to share with you some of our summaries that we have done, and maybe even I would love to pick your brain. So a lot of people didn't even respond, but this guy, John Sanmez, he responded to me saying, hey man, that your summaries look pretty cool. Yeah, I'd love to chat. So we just jumped on a video call, and I talked to him for like 20 minutes. And it turns out that he was also like, he had just moved from Tampa to San Diego at the time, but I was actually in India at the time. So when I was talking to him, and he was like, yeah, when you were in San Diego, let's meet up. So I was like, all right, yeah, let's meet up. And I was the one who really wanted to meet up. So he kind of let it go. He was already a successful guy. So he didn't really have much vested in it, but I was interested in getting to know him, and because he had shown interest in the book summaries and all that. And I got to San Diego, I reached out to him, and he was too busy, so nothing happened. Then again, I reached out to him, and he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's get together for coffee. Because I was like, hey, I just need to talk to you about some real estate stuff. I didn't even say I want to talk to you about business again. This time I changed the course, because I figured like maybe some other angle would work, right? Hey, I just want to talk to you about some real estate stuff. He's like, okay, yeah, let's get together for some coffee. And we started talking. We talked a little bit, and he's like, and I got some good feedback from him. But then again, he disappeared. Like he was like, I would try to schedule time with him, and it would just not happen. And then again, I ran into him somewhere in PB on the boardwalk one day, and I'm like, hey, John. He's like, hey, yeah, hey, you. And he was trying to think, who is this guy? And again, I was like, hey, Ben, I'd love to talk to you. And he's like, yeah. Why don't we, we'll schedule something. And I was like, all right. So I reached out to him again. He's like, let's go for a run. I was like, all right, let's go for a run. So we go for a run summer evening, maybe August, September evening. And I have no idea how long of a run it is, right? We go for a run. The guy takes me for a 12-mile run. And the guy is like, literally, I don't know if you've followed his channel or if you've seen him, like he's like the bulldog mindset, right? He's all about physical fitness and like all that shit. So we go for like a 12-mile run, and I'm running with him, and I'm just this business. We're talking all sorts of things, and a week later, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to Vegas for this mastermind. You should come. Let's hang out." And that's how our friendship really like kind of started, kind of kicked off. And I started to help him with some of his stuff, one thing at a time. And then you know we started doing promotions together. He started promoting my products to his list. And over the years, like he's become one of my best friends like one of my best friends in the world. And we talk about everything, not just business, but business life. I literally I go to the workout with him 3 times a week in the gym for the last 2.5, 3 years until this COVID situation happened. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And we've done so much business together. We've learned so much from each other. Like he started as a mentor in some ways. Like he was someone who was like someone I looked up. And now I feel like we're peers because we're constantly doing business together. We're friends. We're like hanging out. We're the best of buddies. And that's how a lot of these relationships kind of develop. A lot of it is your own initiative. You have to kind of chase people down sometimes, keep different. You constantly how can you like help them and not make much, like not make really big asks, but make small subtle asks, and just let them take you, let them kind of guide that journey. Or depending on their answer, you just propose the next step and the next step and the next step, and that thing evolves. Like literally, I remember the day or the week after, 2 weeks after the run, I listened to his podcast, and he was talking about he met this guy Manny, and he just asked Manny to come out on a run with him, and the guy damn ran 12 miles with him, and he was really impressed. So so he was literally impressed because in his mind physical fitness is such a big part of it, or physical endurance is such a big part. And the guy is legit, like, very successful, very smart, big time entrepreneur, big time real estate investor. And it's always like, we always, whenever we hang out, we have so much business and life stuff to talk about, and constantly help each other in our journeys.
Dang, that's a amazing story. That's so cool. Like I know what you mean. Like even when I'm gonna bring someone into my life, I think of like, oh, I'm gonna take them if you want to go to hot yoga with me, because hot yoga, that's hard. I'm sure you've done it before, right, Bikram?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's so tough. And it's just like, okay, well, hey, I'm actually impressed that you actually were able to go through a, entire class, considering if it's their first time or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So John, like so this guy was able, I'm sure that so you guys did a lot of business together, you guys helped each other out a lot. Would you say in a way like he gave you a foot in the door? Like did he also like introduce you to other people who were able to also open other opportunities for you, or did you just kind of branch out and kind of find that on your own as well?
Okay, so yes, I mean, it's one of those things where I actually introduced him to just as many people as he introduced me to. It was like a very mutual thing. But yes, he definitely, in the early stages of business back in 2017, he got me a lot of, like, he helped me through a lot of breakthroughs in my business. Just because of the fact that he promoted my product to his list at that time, when my list was really small and his list was really big. And him promoting my product to his list was huge, because when he promoted the product, we made tens of thousands of dollars. But that also, like, validated the product in my mind. It wasn't just like me selling to my own little group of people that I had found on YouTube. It was me selling it to a complete group of people that I had never met before or seen before, or not met or seen. Of course, I haven't really seen anyone or met anyone who's watching my YouTube, but these people had never heard of me, and they just, from our emails, they were able to buy. So it was huge. And that email campaign, the first one that we did together, uh, was, the starting point of catalyst for taking the business to the next level that year. And yeah, so it's been huge. And we just, like, John and I just did another campaign um, 2 weeks ago, and it turned out it was one of his best campaigns all year long. So it's like, now I'm basically his biggest affiliate. So, and
Wow.
what started as just a small little experiment for John has turned into, like, one of his biggest money makers in the space.
Dang. And you got and both of you had no idea, starting out like this would ever happen.
Yeah, no, no, no. Like, we couldn't even anticipate it. It just evolved very slowly and organically. And there was no way in hell I could have to promote my product. That sounds like the right move to make, because I didn't even know. It was just like, when we were going out on those runs, like, because I went for the 12-mile run, he was cool. Like, he was like, okay, I think I can go out on a run with this guy again. So he invited me again, or I invited myself again. I was like, hey man, when are you going to go for a run again? Let's talk. Yeah, let's talk some business again. He's like, yeah, sure, come on that day, and we go for another run. And in that run, we unfolds. I tell him, hey, I'm running this promotion for my product, and he tells me about where his business is. And I'm like, hey, in another conversation, I'm like, hey, do you think you could, like, would your audience be interested in a productivity product or something, productivity summaries? He's like, yeah, maybe. Let's talk to my marketing guy, and let's figure it out. So it was all organic. It was very organic relationship building that led to all of these things.
Beautiful. And also, a big thing is like, that took time. Well, like, I think with myself and including my audience, being like the younger entrepreneurs, we tend to want the result so quickly. It's like, well, like I need to make sure that this is like, if I'll make a connection with this person, I don't want to waste my time with certain people. Which at a certain point, like, yeah, but also like take like success is just like step by step, and having that patience. And that's something I remind myself of, every day. It's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy mindset to
Yeah.
adapt.
Yeah. And I mean, as you establish yourself, and as you know get yourself in different circles, what happens is now the next affiliate deal or next relationship becomes that much easier if I say, hey John, can you introduce me to this person or that person, or if John says, hey, can you introduce me to that person? Like these things become much easier because the connection leads to another connection, leads to another connection, and that changes the game dramatically. So it's a initially what could have taken you months can suddenly be done in days because you develop so much more trust with people because of the body of work you have put together, right? So today, if I were to reach out to someone like John, it would be much easier for me to connect with that person because of the body of work. They can go to my website, they can check out my podcast, they can check out my YouTube, they can see all of those things, and they are much more like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. I think I would, I want to talk to him or something like that. So it's, yes, there are ways to accelerate it. There are ways to make it faster, mostly through figuring out other, or by going through unknown connection. Like me because of Wes,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Wesley's are common. Like Wesley's a good friend of mine. He's your brother-in-law. You know me from Wesley, and that means like because of that mutual connection, you can basically reach out to me anytime, and we can chat and we can talk about business anytime you want, right? So
Hmm.
that's kind of a really small, a really powerful hack to be able to get to people through a known connection.
Oh, most definitely, man. So I also saw that in your one of your emails, you're talking about like you started to learn how to, build, like, develop some strong communication skills, and you read the book Never Eat Alone. Like, what were like the biggest breakthroughs that you had socially? Because this is like, yeah, you have to like present yourself in a certain way to where people do want to connect with you. What were some things that you applied to that really helped you out tremendously when it came to networking?
Yeah, Never Eat Alone was great, man. Like there was one idea that changed. Like that was so good. Applied it, and got the results right away. As in, okay, so I'll tell you the story. Um, I had known this, like I had seen this guy off and on in the San Diego, scene, and sometime bar. Like I knew, like I guess I knew of him, and he knew a little bit about me, but I didn't really know him well enough. And towards, you know, as I started to know more about him, I was like, this guy is the real deal. Like this guy knows what he's doing. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's a legit smart entrepreneur. I want to get to know this guy, right? And that was just a thought. Like it was just a subconscious thought in my head, and I didn't really know how to do it because we'd just seen each other in the bar, and it was like not much of a connection there. So what I did was we'd seen each other in like, different events and stuff, and maybe like we saw each other in an event all the way in DC, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, you're from San Diego, I'm from, something like that," but didn't really go anywhere, right? Then I read Never Eat Alone, and in that book he says you should host dinner parties and you should invite 5 people to the dinner party. That's all you really need to have a good party. So I said, okay, well, I'll just invite this guy because I want to get to know him. Because Keith Ferrazzi said in the book, like host dinner parties, invite some people well, but some people you don't really know well, but you want to get to know them well. Like they're different, like so many different angles. You can host dinner parties in so many different ways. You can have themed dinner parties. You can do, and a lot of people who are listening might be thinking, "Hey, man, I'm young. I don't even have a place, like a nice place to stay. What are you talking about, dinner party?" I get it. You can have a pizza party. You can literally have 5 plastic chairs and a plastic table, and invite people. What matters is the fact that you brought people together. That's what, like, the thought matters, not so much the food or the like being able to throw a lavish party. That's not at all like what Keith Radzi often did. Was he would just have soup and bread. That was his party, and plastic table with like that Italian tablecloth, paper tablecloth with the red and white checkered, and 6 chairs, and that's all his dinner parties were initially. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So, but for like months and months, I kept on kicking the ball down the road. But one day I was like, okay, I'm gonna just invite the damn guy, and I'm gonna invite like 6, 7 of my other friends, and just call it a party and do it. I did it, and he came over, and he came over. We had a great time. All of us watched a bunch of TED talks, talked about business and life and all those things. And after that, he became a really good friend of mine. Over the years, he's become a really good mentor. He's taught me a lot about business. He's like um, super smart digital media agency owner, and super smart guy. And over the years, he has literally my friendship with him has has put me in a different league just because of that. So it's amazing how those little moves that you would have never, you would never consider. You would learn from one book, you learn this little thing from one book, then you learn this little thing from one idea in one place here and one place there, and your life changes as a result. But that book is awesome.
Wow, that's incredible. One thing I really like about that book is he talks. I do this a lot. I do the idea of pinging, like
Hmm.
reaching out to people and just making sure you just nurture that relationship.
Yeah,
I didn't finish the book. I didn't get to the part with the dinner parties, but
you do that.
noted.
You have to meet often. Yeah. Well, maybe not. No, maybe not right now. I'm going to take that back for this COVID situation. But after this is settled, yeah, you guys should do it. It's probably one of the easy. Okay, so if I were to, talk about social hacking your life, social hacking, or hacking your social life, let's put it that way. Dinner parties are probably the easiest social hack that's out there. The
Hmm.
easiest.
And keep
And
it.
if you can't have it at your home, well, just invite people to a place. Have a prefix menu, maybe, or get a little venue together with a couple of friends. Co-host a dinner party with another friend. Tell him that I will do all the work. You just give me the location. You invite your friends. I'll invite my friends. There's always a hack. There's always a hack inside a hack to be able to make do with the resources you have. So don't think that, um, I don't have the money or the connections or the food or the table or the location. You can basically parlay all of that from some person or other, from some connection or other. Some friend of yours might have one of those things that you don't have. It could be 3 friends of yours coming together to host a party and inviting 10 other people. It's always possible. There's always a way.
I think the most powerful part of that whole thing was what you said. Like, it doesn't have to be this extravagant, awesome dinner party. It can just be like, yeah, get together some pizza or just set it up. And like the conversation that come from that is what really matters. Very,
Yeah,
very
it's the
powerful.
thought. It's the thought that matters. In nobody cares about how good the dinner was. Like literally nobody, man. All people care about is that camaraderie and the connection they get out of that. Like even if it's a wine and cheese party or if it's just a pizza party, like, does not matter. What matters is the thought that you thought of them, you invited them over. They're grateful just for that.
Wow. So one thing I'd also want to talk about, well, because like a big thing is like I preach, your network is your net worth. Like, yeah, just like surround yourself with these ambitious people, find some mentors. And one thing that, the commonality that you and Wes have is that you guys are both members of War Room. So walk me through like what steps happened? Like, how did you hear about War Room? How did it go on your map? And like, what was the deciding factor for you to go into War Room?
Oh, it was because I've been going to traffic and conversion for a while. Like that events, it's a big digital marketing that company throws called Traffic and Conversion. It's a great event, a lot of great knowledge. Were you at TNC with us, right? You were at TNC, but I had been to Traffic and Conversion or social media marketing. Which one did you come to with Wes?
I went to Influencer with Brandon
Oh,
Burchard.
influencer. Oh, yeah, yeah. You didn't come to TNC. Okay.
Mhm.
TNC was TNC Traffic and Conversion is the other conference, or is the conference that digital marketer throws, and it's the same people who do War Room. And I had been going to their conferences for quite a while, and had heard about. Remember the guy I told you from the guy who I invited for the dinner party? He's the one who was like, "Manny, you should join War Room." He's the one who said, because he was already in War Room at the time, and after a few years, he's like, "Hey, you should join War Room." And that's what triggered me, because I wasn't really sure. I was like, man, I'm not sure if I want to spend $25,000, $30,000 a year on this mastermind. But he was like, no, you should join it. There's a lot of good people in there. And because he said so, I did. I respect his opinion enough to, to be like, all right, if he says it, let's do it.
Wow. And what year was this? Like you actually pulled the trigger?
2018, I think. I don't remember. 2018, I think. Yeah.
So by that time, you already like 2000 books was already taken off, and you were able to sustain yourself and off your business in just 3 years time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, businesses have such different trajectories. It's so hard to map the trajectory of any business compared to any other business. But it's 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 a journey. It's a journey all by itself, and everyone's got to take that journey and find their own trajectory to growth.
Mhm.
What I have seen though is like there are some consistent ways to hack growth to get fast growth, and probably one of the best is through people. So I keep telling like this is something John Sonma is the guy I tell you about, Bulldog Mindset guy. He's like one of those self-made guys. He's like literally all his life he's hustled hard for everything that he's made. And I keep telling like we would have these discussions, long discussions, and I would keep saying like people are the greatest life hack. People are the greatest life hack. People are the greatest life hack. And over the years, he has now that truth. Earlier, he wouldn't believe it. He's like, no, discipline and consistency is the ultimate life hack. And I'm like, no, people are the ultimate life hack. But now I have convinced him that people are the ultimate life hack. So if there's any hack to growth, it's people.
Nice. Now, is there like and also like I read one of your emails. What I didn't know, I know about this, but Warren Buffett, he attributes his number one thing to contribute to success, which is focus. And same thing with Bill Gates. They both said focus when it comes to the greatest contributor. Like, what do you do? What keeps you focused? Do you do the Pomodoro technique? Do you set out chunks? Like, what's your way to be productive and consistent?
Yeah, there's focus has so many different meanings. There's focus in the micro way, and there's focus in the macro way, right? Focus in the micro is right now in this moment I am completely focused on our conversation here, not thinking about anything else. We're present with each other. That's micro focus, right? But then macro focus, that's where I feel like a lot of people lose the battle of entrepreneurship. Macro focus is where anytime I hear a young entrepreneur or early stage entrepreneur who tells me I have multiple businesses and I'm trying to, when they say I'm doing this and I have this business and I have that business, I already know none of them are working. So macro focus is where it says stay focused, stay the course on one business, make this damn business work. And that I think is so crucial for people, for early stage entrepreneurs to get. Here's the way to I'm kind of giving you a much different definition of focus than you would have you probably initially asked for, because it's more of a bigger picture view of business and life. A lot of people go into business, a lot of entrepreneurs go into business searching for the way to make money, or searching for the best opportunity, or searching for the best way to make money. And there's some of that like you need the right angle, the right opportunity, and all of that, right? But the bigger game of entrepreneurship is saying I will make this damn thing work. What people lose in the game of entrepreneurship is they think I need to find the thing that will work, right? And so they do this, they do that. One day they're doing thing A, the next day they're doing thing B, the next day they're doing C, D, E, F. They're all over the map. And that is how you lose the game. The game is to say, I will make A work no matter what happens. And that is a sweet spot. Like it does take a little while to like get that thing right. But the battle of focus, like when we're talking Steve Jobs or when we're talking, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs was a prime example of this. When he came to Apple, came back to Apple after he was fired from Apple, he came back to Apple. Long story, and when he got there, he saw that there had like so many different Macintoshes, and he asked the VP of product, he's like, so which one should I recommend to my niece who's in 12th grade or something? And he's like, oh, you could try this or this or this or that. And Steve Jobs was like, no, this is not how we do business. Like, there's no way you can do anything like this. And he literally cut down the Mac product line by like 60 or 70% when he came on board. And that's how Apple literally started its historic turnaround. So that was his focus. So there's the micro focus of in the moment Pomodoro technique and focus music and all of those things, which are really important. But there's also the macro focus of business, like really being able to say, I'm going to make this damn thing work. Both of them are super crucial. Both of them are really important. From productivity point of view, the micro focus, the 30-minute focus chunks, the productivity focus, like the Pomodoro technique. And I literally have a course called Double Your Productivity by 5 p.m. tomorrow, in which one of the biggest things I teach people is how to be able to quickly focus in and get down to work and literally double your productivity within 24-hour period. If you just follow the steps, you will double your productivity. It's focus, but it's more micro focus in that moment. Macro is more business, more entrepreneurial, thinking about how to focus.
That's very powerful. The I think the biggest lesson that I've learned this year is that what you mentioned is like when someone's like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I do a lot of things. I'm like, well, I know that you're not really making progress in a lot of different directions, because we know like it sounds good, and to someone who doesn't have like that laser focus and doesn't hasn't built anything like really big themselves, it sounds good to them. But someone who's really built something, like they know like, okay, it takes a lot of time and energy and focus it in one direction, and you have to do that over a long period of time, or in order to really make things work. And there's going to be a lot of rope, and I'm going through that right now.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it. I came to this realization, at such a young age. Um, so for 2,000 books, like when you first created it, like once you're like, okay, I'm gonna go for this, like what were the kind of goals that you were setting for yourself? Were you setting like 5-year goals? Were you setting 1-year goals? Like what did that look like for you?
Okay, so I'll answer I'll answer it in two different ways. Uh, what the goals I was setting, the goals I was using as metrics sometimes were wrong. I was wrong a lot of times, and I was setting these 1 year, 2 year, 5 year goals, and they're um, not really the way a startup works, and that's something I had to learn the hard way. Because a startup is, or when you're in early stages of any business, it's very hard to predict how far you can go in that thing that you're trying to figure out right now. It's very hard to predict what will happen in a year's time or 2 years time or 6 years time or anything like that. So you can have a vision for your business, you can have a vision for what you see, the grand vision, the grand scale of everything that you want to come, like we want to play out in the next 5 years or 10 years, and that's totally, totally great. But when it comes to nuts and bolts execution, you want to be able to set goals where you see like where you are able to see that, okay, I set this goal and I'm actually hitting it or getting in the ballpark of hitting it. So you want to start with a smaller time scale and then keep increasing that time scale. And I would say you start with weekly goals, and as you start meeting your weekly goals, then go to every 2 weeks or every month or every 2 months or every 3 months. As the business grows and as the business matures, it's much easier to predictably say, okay, we're going to hit this target, because you are much clearer on the metrics, you're much clearer on all the different things you will do to hit those targets. But when you're in the early phases, there's very little clarity on how you will get to those, the next step and the next step and the next step. So a lot of early stage goals should be more shorter term, but as the business grows, you can get more longer term with your goals. But then vision is something different. Vision, you want to have a vision for yourself. You want to have a vision for how you want this business to be, and a 5 year vision, even a 2 year vision, 3 year. they're all good. Even a 1 year vision of how you see this evolving is important, and let that be your guiding north star. But in the game of business, you will find yourself having to pivot, having to twist, having to turn, little changes here and there. So the goal that you might have had for a year, it may not be the goal anymore, even 2 or 3 months down the line. So keep the goal within striking distance in the early phases. In fact, always. Like right now, we're predicting, like we could predict within the quarter, 2 quarters, what we can do, and those goals are much more realistic. But if I were to try to predict 2 years from now, I would be really wrong in the business right now. So keeping the goals within the territory of what you know you can consistently predict and achieve, or be on the cusp of those, that is that is the goal setting to keep your business progress going. So hopefully that answers the question.
Wow, that was a fantastic answer. Because like just like you said when you first went about it, you were setting the wrong kind of goals. And I personally, for my business, I haven't been doing those small chunks like, oh, like this is definitely doable. And then this, I'm setting out, I have a vision, but I'm also setting out like really, really big goals, like, 4 years from now, like this is what I want it to look like. It's like I definitely need to spend some more time thinking, okay, but like what's like the big like the goal that I can reach, like the next step, and then what would make most logical sense from then, like, and what's a good time frame? It seems like I can actually do it, like where it's actually doable.
Yeah, yeah, because goals are, there's so many ways to think about goals. There's like long-term goals and short-term goals and medium-term goals and all of those things. You want to be in the ballpark of those goals where you can see yourself getting close to them, if not hitting them all the time.
Man, thank you for that. So let's go ahead. I'm looking at the Facebook group really quick. Let's see if anyone is asking any questions. Let me pull it up here. All right. So we got Tim. He just commented saying, love the distinction between micro and macro focus. We got Daniel commented 21 minutes ago saying, gotta respect the process. By the way, those who are watching live, if you have any questions for Manny, go ahead and just drop them in the comment box. We got Tim commented a little bit under 30 minutes ago saying, network while running a casual half marathon. Networking while running a casual half marathon.
That's right.
Huh.
It was more or less a half marathon because it was around 12 miles, remember? So you're right.
That's hilarious. And did you have like the stamina like leading up to that? Like did you run at all? Like
I ran. So then after the run, John asked me, so when was the last time you ran 10 miles, 12 miles? And I was like, I don't remember I ever ran 10, 12 miles. I usually run 4 or 5 miles on a weekly basis. Anytime I go out for a run, and I go for a run pretty consistently every week, like 3 or 4 times a week, 3 times a week. 4 or 5 miles is the most I do I would run 5 miles at any given time. So it's been a long, like I hadn't run 10 miles in a very long time, or maybe forever. 12 miles. Yeah.
that's hilarious, man. Before we do adjourn, while these guys are coming up with some questions, is there anything that you want to say, like any piece of advice that you would love to give to the entrepreneurs who are building the business or want to build a business but they're still unsure, the beginning stages?
Yeah. So many different things that come to my mind, but one of the things in the early part of my life that I learned was that, and I'm going to give you advice that's contradictory to what I just told you, which is to set, like sometimes you set these goals that are like, okay, I can hit this, I can hit this, I can hit this, I can hit this. So that's how I'm going to progress through these phases. But sometimes in life, if you've got to go for those big goals, and the way to do those goals, the goals where you just can't see the path, but you have that passion, you are excited about them, and you just know you're going to have to make it work, you're going to figure out a way. I say commit first and figure it out later. I the thing as an entrepreneur, or to succeed at any endeavor in life, the most important thing you will need is commitment. If you are committed, you will always find a way. People who fail are the ones who are usually not the committed ones. So if you commit and you say, I'm going to burn the bridges, I'm going to burn the boats, there's no plan B, there's only plan A or nothing, It's do or die. You find a way. The key is to find those moments. The key is to be very appreciative of life's challenges when it gives you those do or die moments. For me, it was like those times when I was laid off and I had 30 days to find a job. That's do or die. And today, and I look back, I'm very appreciative of those moments because they forced me to find a way. They forced me to get better or get stronger to handle life in a way. And same thing, if I don't know if you read my most recent email about my graduate school experiences, like the JFK email I was telling. Uh, um, yeah, so I was talking about how um, when I went to grad school. By the way, if there are any questions, I want to answer those questions before I keep rambling on about commitment.
No, no, yeah, keep going ahead. I want to hear it.
Yeah. So when I went to grad school, I was a physics major, as you had correctly pointed out, and then I went to grad school at Rice University in Houston for electrical and computer engineering. But they wanted me to study uh, the part of electrical engineering, which is very close to physics. It's quantum electronics, physical electronics, nanoparticles, all this stuff. But when I came to grad school, I was like, nah, I'm going to do hardcore electrical and computer engineering. I don't want to do anything related to physics anymore. So in that moment, I had to make a decision. I could try to do both. Like I could take courses in both of those, like quantum electronics, quantum physics, and also on computer engineering, or I could just go all the way in quantum, all the way in one, all the way in the other, or straddle in both of them and try to see which one I could do. Because the challenge for me was that if I didn't score a GPA of 3.5 out of 4 in any of the semesters, I would lose my scholarship. So it wasn't like I could just come and study whatever the hell I want and get whatever grades I want, and no matter what, I'll still be okay. I would have to, no matter what I took, I would have to get a GPA of 3.5 or 4. And if I didn't, I would lose my scholarship, which means I would have to leave the country. So I have had a lot of close moments to having to get kicked out of America. This was just one of those early ones, right? So in that early phase where I didn't really have any background in computer engineering or electrical engineering, I just knew I wanted to do it. So when it was the opportunity, like when it was time for me to select my classes, I said, I'm not going to do any quantum electronics. I'm not going to do any physics stuff. Screw it. I'm going to go all in to computer engineering, electrical engineering. That's all I want to do. I have no idea. I'm going to have to study doubly as hard because everyone else already has a background in these. They've done their undergrad degrees, and I have no clue. I was like, screw it, I'm doing it. And my friends, like literally, they were like, dude, you're crazy. What if you don't get a good grade? You're gonna lose your scholarship. All of this shit is gonna happen. Why don't you take both of those courses and see how this goes? And maybe next semester you will know better. I was like, no, going all in. I was wild, I was young, and I was naive, and it was a good thing. Because then I was like, I just went all into that. I was 100% committed, 110% committed. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I found a way. So commitment, especially when you burn the boats, when you have no way out, that's when you find yourself hitting those big goals. The challenge, like the reason why there's a dichotomy here of when I said you need to set small goals and achievable goals, while on the other hand, I'm telling you, you need to go for those big, hairy goals where you need to go all in. Those goals really work when there's a clear punishment for failure, where there's a clear do or die situation. When you have that clear do or die situation, then your big goals take on a life of their own. Then you will always find a way. But when you don't really have a clear do or die situation, like in the case of business, when you're just going from quarter to quarter to quarter, then you're much better off setting more like reasonable expectational goals so that you can hit those things. But then maybe there are times when your back is against the wall, and that's when you will find yourself doing massively better than what you've ever done because now you're committed.
And that's really inspirational. And just you're like that. I'm gonna like you got to the point where you're like, I am going to make it work.
Yep.
As you mentioned, like no matter what, like I made the decision. Now I had to figure out. Now your brain starts coming up with different answers on how you can make this work. Like, okay, I can do this. I can study more of this. I can cut this out. And I feel like that wouldn't have been available to you if you didn't make that decision, right? Like those kind of thoughts on how to actually make it work and make it happen.
If there was no consequence, if there was no negative consequence of not hitting that goal, then my brain wouldn't have worked as well to find those answers. So the negative consequence, that do or die, the die part of it just has to be as hardcore for your brain to get into gear, to get you to the goal, to get you that end result that you want.
That's incredible, man. All right. So here, I know, just to be cognizant of time here, we have a couple questions. Tim asks, what things unrelated to business do you do that help you out in your business?
Hmm. Running. I love running, working out. Um, what else do I do? Different things. There's so many different hobbies I have: rock climbing, sailing, salsa dancing, all these different things. And there's always like all these things unrelated. Traveling around the world. This as unrelated as they sound, they always like. There's always, if you seek, you will find. There's always a way these things connect back to your life and to business.
Hmm. Also meditation. I know you're big into that as
Yeah,
well.
meditation.
Here, Tim also asks, as you've gone through your journey, how has your concept of money changed?
Hmm. That's a good one. I think money at some point becomes just your way to see how well you are able to meet your goals and keep yourself on track on your own commitments and all those things. It like at some point, money isn't really all that that it's made out to be. Like there's only so many things you will do, but it is a great way to keep yourself, like keep score for yourself, to know what you're doing. Like there's the work you're putting in, but the end result, like what the results you're getting, it's a good way to find how you're how you're doing. You don't have to compare with anyone else. You can just compare with yourself and just see if you're heading the right direction and you're doing the right things to create value in this world. If you're creating value in this world, money is coming, and it's really as simple as that.
Solid, man. I know we're at time. Just one last question here. I think I
Sure.
know I think I know the answer to this question. It says, if you were on a desert island and you can take one book only, what would it be?
um, it's a tough one. There are two books that I like, but I'll give you one. It's called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. It's one of the greatest books ever. It's a 50-page, really small book. You can download it for free from my website. Just go to 2000books.com/think, and you can get that PDF of that As a Man Thinketh book. It's a philosophical gem of a book, one of the greatest books. So read it. I have read it tons of times, and I still keep reading it. It's loaded with wisdom.
Beautiful. Hey man, thank you so much, Manny. I really appreciate you coming, man. Where can people find you? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Just head on over to. So if you're watching on YouTube, I don't know if this is ever going to go on YouTube. I'm assuming it's just on Facebook right now. But if you're watching on YouTube, just search for 2000 Books, the YouTube channel 2000 Books, podcast 2000 Books. And for you guys, for all of you guys who are watching and listening, I'm gonna have a little give a little discount to all of you guys. So if you ever wanted to buy any of our courses, any of our book summary packages, or anything like that, just enter the coupon. I'll create the coupon code for you guys. So don't try it today. Maybe try it tomorrow. Coupon code Morning Hustlers. So let's call it morning. Try coupon code morning, and we'll give you 30% off of all of our courses and book summary packs. So that's hopefully that helps.
Wow, awesome. I can't wait to tell everybody on the call tomorrow. Again, Manny, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and end this live stream and I'm gonna give you some just a couple thank yous and then we'll go ahead and